Well, good evening to you, sir or madame. It is time for us to fix a little regression that we made with our blog. It was not that I was unaware of this, but that I was waiting for it. So, first of all, if you're watching on YouTube, then, or if you're watching the live stream, please feel free to comment on YouTube. I've got the comments open so I can keep an eye on them. And if you are not actually watching live, then check the link in the description to see if the edited version is up and available in the Beyond Code Bootcamp playlist. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. Well, hello, and welcome back. Tonight we're going to fix a little regression with our blog, because when we automated it, we kind of took 2 steps forward and 1 step back. The 1 step back you may or may not have noticed is that our links are just the file name. They are not actually the title of the article of the blog. And we want to get a title for each blog article back in here. So what we're going to do is use a little bash magic. We're going to use some pipes and some ifing and some grepping and a couple of other common things. And we'll just step through this. So first of all, we actually have to take a look at our blog articles and make titles for them. So I'm just going to do this to a couple of them. How domains work already has a title. The way we're going to do a title is use Markdown. So just a single pound is header 1, and that'll be the first line of the file. That's really what we want to do here. So that one's already got one. How to create a server. I won't put it on all of these because we actually do want to see the fallback mechanism. We need to know what happens in the error case. So this one was how to create a server. And let's see, how to use Git. Okay, that one's got a title. And I think these other two do not have headers, rather. I'm calling them titles because that's how we're going to use them. We're going to use them. This one does not have one. Let's just leave it without. And we'll leave this without one too. Okay, so most of our blog articles have headers, which we're going to extract to use as titles. Here's how we're going to do it. First, let me go into Bash, because the stuff that we're testing is relevant to test in Bash itself. We have our good friend Cat that can show us what's inside of a file. We have another good friend that we have talked about, which is RG or grep. When we're using bash, in the same way that we use fish for most of our work when we're working in the shell, but we use bash when we're testing scripts, when we're doing scripts, we need to use grep. And as far as you're concerned, they operate identically. So what we're going to do is grep -v. This would actually, I'll start with RG and then we'll switch it over to grep when we use the script. The only thing that's going to be different about this is the name, but I want you to see. So we're going to look for, actually, basically any line that isn't blank. I think the best way to do that might be just to check, let's see, \W. Yeah, that'll probably work. Here we go. \S. Anything that's not a space. Don't worry about this now. It's regular expression. But we have a way to check for anything that's not a space. So we're going to try to basically strip out all of the lines in the file that are blank lines. Let's see if this works. And indeed it does. So if I were to do this with grep, you'll see that it's the same, except it's less pretty. That's the difference. Grep is old is boring, grep is new and nice. But when we're using scripts, we need to use old boring things. So we're going to have that. And what we're going to do is, before we talked about how we can use a subshell, so I'll go ahead and do this. We can use a subshell, oops, I forgot my quotes, to take the output of one command so that we can put it in a variable and use it as the input to another command. Well, for some commands, what we can do is called a pipe. So it's the straight up and down bar that is next to the return character on your keyboard. Let's see if we can get that in. Oh, sorry. It's right. Oh, no. which way am I going here? This way. It's this character right here. That's the pipe. Right above the return key, right below the delete key. So we're going to put that pipe in there, and we're going to pipe grep to a program called head. There's a program called head, a program called tail. They work about the same way. You give them a number of lines that you want in the file from the beginning of the file for head or the end of the file for tail. So for example, I'll say, just give me the first line of the file. And then I have how domains work. Now technically, because of the way that we did the files, we don't have to actually do this grep here. We could have run head directly on the file. In fact, I'll show you how that would look. How domains work. There we go. Same thing. In fact, I think we'll go with that solution for now. But the reason I was showing it the other way, and we'll still end up using pipes, but the reason I was showing it the other way is that I don't think that we should discount. Generally, when we're scripting or programming, we don't want to count white space as significant. If somebody accidentally has a empty line up above, we don't want to discount that empty line. Because I've got a formatter, it removes the empty lines, but it's nice to allow things like empty lines to be there. So anyway, we're going to go forward. That's the first thing that we need to do, is we needed to be able to just get the first line. Now, in the case of how domains work, that does have a title that we gave it. But let's pick one of the ones that doesn't have a title. So intro to the shell. Oops. I hate working without colors. Ugh, bash. But and this actually we could do in fish. I'm gonna skip back to fish so we can get some color in here again. And then I'll switch over to bash when we need bash again. Okay. So here we didn't have a title, so the first line doesn't start with the title. And what we want to do is we want to conditionally find out if there's a title. We want to replace the file name of the link with the title. Otherwise, we want to use the title. So we want to use the title if we can. So in order to do that, we can use grep again, and we'll set up an if statement. We'll do this in our, it's hard to do if statements interactively on the command line, so we'll do that in our script. But first, let's just take our title. So we're going to, we don't have it in a file right now. Well, we could, let's see, we could pipe it again. No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. Okay. Yes, I know what we want to do. We're going to pipe again. We're going to pipe again, and we're going to grep, and we're going to look for, now this is regular expression for start of line. Again, you don't need to worry about this right now. I'm just kind of, that's not the purpose of the lesson here, but I'm just letting you know what it is. So we're saying the line starts with a pound, because we could say a pound exists anywhere in the line that we're searching through, or because again, grep is taking the whole text of the file and going line by line, and it's matching lines. It's either keeping lines in or it's throwing lines out. So we want to say we're going to throw out all of the lines that do not start with a pound. And the reason we're doing this here, first we got rid of all the empty lines. Then we get the first line, because there are other lines in the file that might have a pound, but it's only going to be the title if it's the first line. So we're going to take that, and it actually needs to have a space after it. It needs to be a single pound. That's how we know it's a title. Okay? So there, that did not work as I expected. Not one bit. Whoops. What happened here? Oh, because that's, yes, this did work exactly as I expected. Okay, so what we got back was nothing, because we're looking at the file that does not have a title. We're going to go back over here to our blog that does have a title. Okay, now we get something yet again. All right, so at this point, we're ready to take this the commands that we've been playing with and integrate them into our script. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this whole thing. And I'm going to go into our build script. And we're going to go to where we read in the file. So we have the markdown file. Oh, there it is. Comrack on the markdown file. And then we're replacing content right here. And we're printing out article right there. So this is where we have in our markdown output the thing that we're trying to replace. That's going to be the title of the link there. So let me go ahead and put this here. And we are going to want our file name, myarticle.md. So we're searching through, and because this is a script, we're going to use grep. We use the old tools and scripts because scripts are old things. So we're searching for anything that is not a space because /s, or sorry, excuse me, \s means look for space characters. \S, this is regex, means look for characters that are not spaces. Then we're going to take all those lines that are left over. We're going to get only the very first one using head. Then we're going to get something if it starts with #, or we're going to get nothing otherwise. So what we need now is a variable to hold this. So my title equals all right. So we already know what the output of this is going to look like. It's either going to be something or nothing. Now, if it's something, the problem that we have is that it starts with a pound. So we need to be able to get rid of the pound if it's there. So here's what we do next. We do, oops, my spacing is off. Never mind. So we do, my title. We're going to reassign it. So we already have it here, but it's got the extra stuff in front of it. So we're going to reassign it. We're going to, well, actually, first we need to test. Sorry, we need to test. We need to test to see does it have it or does it not have it. So we're going to do if, and if conditions in bash always are followed by double brackets. And we need to do if -in is something that is used with the double brackets. It means not empty. So if not empty, my title, then we're going to do one thing, else we're going to do another thing, and then we're going to end. So just to bring some clarity to this, let's comment both of these out right now. So what this is saying is if the variable is not empty and means not empty, so if there's something in it, then we're going to figure out how to do this with a title. Otherwise, we're going to do what we were already doing. We're going to just print out the name of the file. Okay, so I'm going to bring this back up here. And actually, I'm going to do one better. No, this is good. This is good. We're going to do it this way. Okay. So what we need to do is strip out the leading two characters. And the way that we're going to do this, let me go ahead and change this here. This is going to use my title. In fact, let's just test and see that it works now before we go any further. So we're going to get my title or my article. All right. I'm going to run it, build. I'm going to rsync it. It's rsyncing. I'm going to refresh. And what do we get? Oh, it didn't work. Let's see what's going on there. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. So we are doing a grep over the file. This should work. Why did it not work? Well, let's do this. Let's take this command. I'll do a little printf debug. We're going to try each of these in turn to see what the output is. And then we'll know what's going on. Go ahead and grab this hole in here. All right, so I'm trying my simplest command. I'm trying the 2 commands strung together and the 3 commands strung together. And then I've got our if statement afterwards. So now let's run the build again and let's see what we get. Okay, it looks like debug, how to use get, and it's printing out the full article. Okay, that part's working, and it's too much, so let's get rid of that. And let's put a new line there so that debug's on one line, and the next bit is on the next line. Okay, how do domains work? All right, so this looks correct. Yeah. So we got debug 1, debug 2, and let's have a debug 3 here. Okay. Debug 1, debug 2. It's not getting a debug 3. Why is that? I think I know why. Because technically, that is a failure, and we have set to not allow failures. So if there's no match, not only does it return nothing, it actually does return an error. So what we need to do at the end of this is return true. I know that's not going to make a lot of sense because we haven't talked about return codes. That's okay. This is just my mistake and something that I did here. I'll explain it later on. That's not the focus for right now. So now with that last bit having an or true, whoops. Huh. Didn't like me trying to split it up on multiple lines. Okay, I think now we should get the expected results. Let's check and see. Ah, there we are. Okay, cool. So that was the problem. I'll explain, we'll go over that later. But now our current problem is just we need to get rid of these hashes in front. So what we're going to do is use another command called cut. And what we'll actually do, I wonder, I think instead of doing true, I think we could do cut -C3 on and then or true. And I think that this, I'm going to explain what this is in just a second. I just want to try it out because I've gotten this wrong previously. Okay, cool, it works. Great. So I'm going to show you interactively what cut does. So let's say that we have 1, 2, 3, let's see. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we pipe this to cut -C, cut, just like it sounds, will cut characters. So we want to tell it, cut the first character. It'll give us the first character. Cut from the first character to the 99th character. We don't have 99 characters. It's going to print all of the characters that we have. Okay? Now let's do one better. If we get rid of that and we just put a dash, it'll assume until the end. So it's a range, 1, 2, whatever, 1, 2, 3, for example. Gives us that many. 1, 2, 5 gives us that many. We could do 2 to 5. We could do 3 to 5. So cut just allows us to snip and trim a range of the string. So what we're doing is saying, give me from the third character onward is what I want to cut. From third character until the end. And then if we go back here and we replace this, first character, second character, third character, my title. So that is, again, using a pipe. Now, cut could work on a file, but it's one of those utilities that we most often use with pipes, because most often we want to manipulate some strings that are in motion. So just like we talked about before with having a variable that stores output that we pass as input, some commands expect to be able to use a pipe, meaning that there's not a way for us, if we had stored this in a variable, there's not a way for us to do something like this, just because every command's different, and then get a result, because it's looking for a file that has that text in it, or it's looking for a file with that literal name. We don't have a file with that literal name. So the pipe, if we use a pipe, it basically says, hey, cut. If you wanted a file, instead of reading from a file, read from the output of the previous command. That's what a pipe does. So let's go back to our build script here. Whoops. Build. And I wonder if there's a way we could simplify this, because this is a little bit difficult to read. We probably could, take it in stages. So for example, we could do one thing, assign it to a variable, then printf the variable, pipe it, assign the result to a variable. It's kind of hard to say what the right thing to do is here. I think the right thing to do here is just to put a comment so that we can remember what we did and why. So let's just comment each of these. And that, I think, is our best way of handling this. So this will select non-empty lines from file. This is grab first non-empty line. It's not non-empty because of what head does, it's non-empty because of what grep did. And then this we could comment with, oops, let's see, I like to line up the comments. Select a line starting with this or nothing. I want to have the room to fill out this comment, which I think really deserves a lot of room here. Okay, or select nothing. And then the last bit, whoops, was select from the third character of that line onward. And then finally, true, ignore failure, meaning no matching lines would be a failure. Okay. So with that, I think that's kind of the best way we can make this clear. The downside of doing this is that if we go and change this in the future, which we probably will, then we'd need to go change the comments as well to match. But I think this is kind of the simplest way to go about this, because really the right thing to do is to do pipe, 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 pipe. And this is or true, not pipe true. Or true, because if we did pipe true, then it would actually always have nothing in it, because true is a command that exits success, but it does not carry on any of the input. So or true basically means if there's a failure and there isn't any input, or just if there's a failure, then ignore the failure and return success. That's kind of what's happening. And if grep has nothing that it can match, if you ask, hey grep, match for a line that starts with a pound and there's no line that starts with a pound, it fails. And then the script stops. Anyway, going on here, if my title, whoops, I cannot believe I'm doing such bad things tonight. I forgot to put my quotes and my brackets here. Oh, and I forgot to do it over there earlier. Anyway, so we have if my title is not empty, then we're going to print my title. Otherwise, we're going to print my article. Now, if we want to simplify this just a touch, what we could do is we could always print my title at the end. And what we could do up here is we could set, by default, we could set my title equals and put my article. Let's put that up above here. So default title. And then we can replace that title. Oh, you know what, actually? I'm mistaken. Here's how we would need to set a default. So let's get, I'm going to just paste that there for a second. We're going to get rid of this entirely. And we're going to get rid of our else. So instead of saying if one way or the other way, what we need to do is say if this is, and this little double negative here, not empty. So that would be bang for not. Bang is how we do a not in bash. So if not empty, then we'll use the default title, meaning if it's empty, then use the default title. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that and run our build again and run our rsync again. Whoops, I'm in bash still. Let me get out of there. Get back to fish. Okay, and here we are. Now in the future, what we're going to do, we've already learned about Git, and one of the things that we learned about Git is that Git has a database, or it is a database rather, and it has a log of when everything happened. So wouldn't it be nice if we could put the date that the article was added as well as the date that it was last updated? I think that that's going to be a nice thing to do next. So with that, if this video was useful for you, if you had any aha moments, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to continue to watch the series, like and subscribe. And if you're interested in making sure that you're either on the live channel or the edited channel, check the links in the description. And I would love to know if there were things that you have questions on that were particularly confusing. If you want to put a link to the timecode in the comments or just the comment, likewise, if there was something that was particularly clear that you really appreciated, go ahead and put that in the comments as well. Feel free to ask me any other questions, and I will catch you next time. Good night. Always the stream key. I don't know what it's being captured by.